Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do a review on my SpeeCo 25-ton log splitter. In general, I think it's a good log splitter. I think I paid $1,000 for it. So there was another one I wanted, and I went to 4 different retailers. The same retailer wanted it, and they were sold out of all of them except the broken ones, and it was the same model that I wanted, broken at every single store. So needless to say, this was my second choice, but it was a good choice in reality. So I split all of this wood over here with the SpeeCo. So today I'm going to do a little review of it, show you some of the things I like, some that I don't like about it. Right away from where you're standing, you can see what I don't like about it here is it's got this short tongue here, and then this is actually the hitch here. But the short tongue, and then it's got this pin that goes through the sheet metal leg. I think that this would have been better had this tongue been stretched out just a few more inches. Then I could have put a regular trailer crank up wheel on there, one that I could rotate out of the way, one that, because all the land here, I mean, you step out of your car and it's like straight up. Then I'd be able to even out the log splitter a little bit more by adjusting the wheel. I think it wouldn't have cost that much more, and it would have been an upgrade that someone could have paid for, and they could might have made a little extra money on it versus this stupid stand-up leg. Another thing, if you want to come in close here, it's a 25-ton log splitter. I've never had a problem with any wood, so you could pay extra and go up to a 28 or 30 ton, and I don't really think you need it unless you were trying to get a special size motor for it. It does have this little neat little tube here for manuals and whatnot, waterproof tube to stay in there. Come on in. Okay, so something about the SpeeCo, and I've seen some other models that have it, and maybe the steel's a little bit more. So this isn't actually an I-beam, but it's steel welded together like it's an I-beam. So to give it strength, they curled up the edge here and made a channel for this to ride in. I like that because it helps me cut the wood, split the wood the same every time, because I push it up against this. So that part's nice. What I don't like is that it catches all this wood in here, like this. SpeeCo did put some holes in there to let those things out, but it builds up in here, and sometimes when you're splitting wood, it hampers from the wood going all the way back till the ram comes through. So usually I'm working with, as you know, working with this picaroon, and I can get in here and knock some of it out and get it loosened up and get it out of there. But you know, I constantly, or continually I should say, have to do that because it'll get jammed up in there right away. Another great thing about this is that by having the rolled edge on there, it makes it so it holds the log up here. It gives it a cradle, so it's kind of self-centering. You know, the log automatically centers on there. I have another log splitter. I could show you that it is an I-beam, and the log can roll off either way. When I bought it, I added on this shelf here. That shelf will save you a ton of time splitting, because that other half a log won't fall on the ground. So what you actually do is you split the log, roll it on, half of it onto that shelf, you roll this towards you, and then you finish up with that half of the wood. So I don't like the holes being so far back, and the fact that they clog up, but it could be further this way, or maybe the holes could be larger. But I do like the rolled edges because it does give you that thing with the So another thing with the log splitter, this one comes with a 6.5 horsepower Kohler engine. This is one of the only things on a log splitter that can go bad, is that you have they're very simple machines, I-beam, hydraulic cylinder, doesn't matter who makes it or what, the valve doesn't matter who makes it or what. So really what makes a log splitter different, or unique from other log splitters, is the motor, how big and powerful it is, and then the pump, which has to do with the cycle time. This one here being right in the middle, its cycle time is just fine. There's a lot of smaller ones that'll have a slower cycle time, and then there's some that have a faster cycle time. The Kohler Engine, it usually, now I haven't started this in at least a month, and we'll see how it goes. So one pull, it started back up. So reliability wise, this motor, which it's the motor that's reliable, but it makes the whole system reliable. So that's something very positive about SpeeCo putting that motor on here. Another thing about the SpeeCo, and if you have a 5-gallon bucket here, you can actually utilize this to your benefit. But all of the chips and stuff from the splitting, they tend to ride back on here. Actually, so there's a bunch of these chips that tend to ride back in here. And once again, you're going to need to get something to get the chips out. You'll have to move the ram forward and get it out. But you know, you could use some of this in a 5-gallon bucket as for starting fires, you know, because they're smaller pieces. But you know, it's kind of annoying that this stuff would all build up in here. And if you're not going to use the log splitter for quite some time, it builds up moisture and just holds moisture against your steel, could lead to rusting. So I don't like that. And this particular log splitter also tips up. So if you got big logs, you don't have to pick them up. You can just, you know, roll them over to the log splitter and do it like this. I will tell you, 99.9% of the time, since I've only done it once, I don't stand it up like this. It just doesn't work into my workflow nice. What does work into my workflow, rather than having to stand up the wood, there's a couple of other things that you could do. Mainly use the pickaroon to pick up the wood. You wouldn't believe how much more efficient you can be with the pickaroon to stick the log like this and then just pick it up onto the log splitter versus you know, bending over and picking it up, which will give you a sore back. So back to the SpeeCo. The hydraulic reservoir is more than enough. I've never overworked it yet as far as, you know, building up too much heat or anything. It works fine. And then the controls work fine. So with that being said, if I were to give this a score from 0 to 10, and I would subtract for this tongue being so short and not being able to add a crank up trailer dolly leg on there, or wheel. Actually a wheel would be nice, because while it's in the garage you could push it around on 3 wheels really nice. But they didn't leave me enough space to even switch over to that. And then so that would be one thing I would detract from. The other thing I would detract from would be the fact that it collects all of this debris and clogs up like it does. Otherwise, it's an excellent log splitter. It's got these posts on both sides here, so that when you get into a log and it sticks in and you retract, these 2 posts will catch the log and pull it off the wedge there. I did buy a drop over 4-way wedge for this, but I try to be very particular about how I split my wood, and I don't use the 4-way wedge very much. So being that this price of this was about $1,000 with, and then I added the shelf on, so $1,050 because that's how much, $50 for the shelf. I would give this probably 9, 8.5, 9 out of 10, as far as a score of 1 to 10, because I do like the fact that this rolled I-beam does hold on to the log, self-centers it. So it's a decent log splitter, and yes, I would buy it again. And I would just, work through those couple of points that it doesn't do. Yeah, the biggest thing positive about this particular log splitter is the working height. So I've worked on other log splitters, and I am 6'3", but I have a friend who's 5'10", who worked on another log splitter. And if you got to bend over to operate that log splitter, it doesn't take very many hours for you to get a sore back. So moreover, then the log splitter stands up, because they almost all the homeowner log splitters do that. Rather than, I mean, that's not a selling point to me at all. And you'll see at some retailers, they got them all stood up. So then they miss the most important part, which is the working height. And if any of you have worked on a shop bench or worked on folded clothes on a table that was real low, or anything that the working height wasn't ergonomically correct as far as its height, you'll know what I'm talking about as far as getting a sore back. So the SpeeCo is higher, and it's a benefit in that way, much more so than the fact that it stands up. So 9.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good log splitter.
The SpeeCo log splitter is a pretty good log splitter for $1,000. I think you'll see a lot of log splitters out there in that $1,000 price range, give or take $100 or $200. So they should all operate about the same. Like I said, the biggest difference for me was the working height. In order to go up in log splitters to the next, I guess, skill level in log splitters, you end up in a professional model, which I think the cheapest professional model you could buy is probably $4,500 all the way up to $10,000. And really what you get with them is log lifts, and then you get the cycle time, because you have bigger motors, bigger pumps, so they cycle much faster and help you get the work done quicker. So depending on how many cords of wood you process a year, whether you're just doing it for heat in your own house or whether you're doing it as a side business where you might want to do, 100 cords a year, for the 100 cords, I'd get the professional model. For the homeowner, if you're doing 1 to 20 cords, I think that the SpeeCo with $1,000 will do you right. There's several of them that'll do you right for the same price zone, and get one with a good motor and then a good working height, and I think you'll be happy and saving money heating your house. So
if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe, comment, tell me your thoughts. Maybe there's something, maybe this standing it up, it works better for you. You want to tell me about it, or maybe you understand the working height aspect of it. Maybe you got a question about the pickeroo and how I use it when I'm splitting wood. Let me know. Subscribe and like and share.